Hey guys, welcome to 12-Step Tuesday, where today we are going to work step 4. Now, this is a really exciting step where we are invited to get to know ourselves better. And in doing that, we're going to find that we're going to be more empowered to deal with situations in our lives, and specifically for the purposes of what we've been talking about, the family members we have that are struggling with alcoholism or addiction. Specifically, parents is what we're geared for, but really any family member that may be struggling with alcoholism or addiction. These steps can empower us and strengthen us to be able to know how to negotiate some of those tricky relationships that we find ourselves in. But before we get started, let's just review the first 3 steps. Step 1, we admitted we were powerless over my mom's alcoholism, my dad's alcoholism. What you might want to say, alcohol, if you are powerless over alcohol, wouldn't be a bad idea. But what we're talking about more is in relation to people who are in our family that are struggling with these issues. And we're powerless. I don't know if you've been there, you know you're powerless. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion and not being able to do anything about it. You really are powerless. So that was our first step, was to admit that. And then the second step was such wonderful news. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Wow, what a freeing step that is. Just to know how to think about a particular situation we're dealing with, and essentially then how to act in that situation, what to say, what not to say. And of course, that's a growing process, but it's so good to know that our higher power can help us know how to deal with these situations that we're being faced with. And then in step 3, we made a decision to turn our life and our will over to the care of God. And that also is an extremely powerful step, because God cares about us. He cares about us, and He wants us to succeed, and He wants us to be able to get through these situations that we're facing and to do it in a healthy way. And sometimes our loved one's best chance at recovery is our own healthy example of the way that we are interacting with them. So in step 4, what we're going to do is make a searching, fearless, moral inventory of ourselves. So let's break that down just a little bit. We want our inventory to be searching. This is really important. Lamentations 3:40 tells us, "Let us search and try our ways and turn again to the Lord." And we find again in Psalm 139, where the psalmist says in verses 23 and 24, "Search me, O God, and know my heart, and see if there be any hurtful way." That's the way the Living Bible puts it. "Hurtful way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." So getting rid of, or just working on those character defects that we have, is going to get us on the path to our own recovery and to just ultimately everlasting life as we're trusting God to get us there. So don't be afraid of the word searching. And remember that there is always kind of a tendency in the human condition to justify. We all have it. It's part of the human condition. And resist that urge, because be honest, be open, just do the best that you can with where you're at right now, because the reason that you're doing this searching inventory is to be set free from these things. And if we're justifying them, we're not really going to be able to be set free and be empowered to live the kind of life that's going to make us an asset to that family member that is struggling. Now, the next adjective that's going to apply to our inventory is fearless. And we can be fearless because we have laid the foundation in the first 3 steps. We've surrendered our lives into the care of God. So we don't have anything to be afraid of. Now, fear is a natural human emotion. Anybody that tells me they're never afraid, I never believe them, because we all get afraid of things here and there. It's how we handle it and what we do with it, and turning to the Lord to redeem it. That's where the answer is. But we do want to face these things head on and be honest about our character defects. And sometimes we can find out, as we're going to talk about when we get to the next adjective, that in our fearlessness, we can even find out that something we thought was a defect can be an asset, or an asset can be a defect. So the next word in our little adjective thing we've got going on here is moral. We want to make a moral inventory. And it's a good idea when we make this moral inventory that we make a list of character strengths as well as character defects. Because, again, sometimes we can find out that what we thought was a character strength is a character defect. Let's say, for instance, we know that we care about others. We love others. We love the people in our family. We want to help them. And so we go to the ends of the earth to make sure that we do everything we can for them. Well, that can be, in part, a character defect, because we can tip on over into enabling. And enabling never helps any addict or alcoholic get better. It only prolongs the misery. So we want our inventory to be moral, and in doing that, go ahead and list your strengths as well as your weaknesses, because it's going to give you a better balanced view of yourself and help you. Again, our goal is to interact in our families and also just in life in a more healthy way, to know when to say yes, to know when to say no, to know when not to talk at all. Boy, have I gotten myself in trouble talking when I didn't need to. A lot of trouble. Over 70 years, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble talking when you didn't need to talk. So step 4 can be one of the most wonderful steps in the whole 12 steps. Of course, they're all wonderful in a different way, because it starts us on the process of self-evaluation. And it's the step to peace, guys. Because listen, being able to admit where you're falling short is just like, whew, that's a big load lifted off of my load, my burdens that I'm carrying. And also knowing that my responsibility is to keep my side of the street clean. I don't have to worry about the other person's side of the street or anybody else's side of the street. As long as my side of the street is clean, I'm going to be in good shape. Now, I was reading in preparation for this today, one of the readers, I was reading The Courage to Change, and one of the reflections in there caught my attention. I thought it was a pretty good description of step 4. And she said, I think of it as a grocery store. And imagine, you know how it is when you go to the grocery store, you go to Walmart, and this happened a lot during COVID. You get to the store and what you want is out. The shelf is empty. So if you really need it, you have to go to another store, etc., etc. Well, if the grocer, of course in COVID they couldn't really help it a lot of times, but nowadays if the grocer had checked, most of the time he can keep that shelf full. And my step 4 is a little bit like that. If I never check to see what my character defects are, how can I ever turn them into character assets? Because I'm too busy ignoring them or not wanting to admit them or justifying them. So, and remember, one of the ways to make the steps really deep in your heart is to journal. Don't self-edit. Don't type. You don't have to write cursive if you don't want to. But don't type, because something happens in our brains when we take pen to paper. It's part of the creative process. Don't self-edit. write how you actually feel. And I had to laugh to myself because this reminded me of a friend I had in Al-Anon, and he would say that every once in a while he just had to write some hate mail and then he would burn it. He never mailed it. But, he'd say, I haven't written any hate mail for a while. I might need to write some. So that was his way of getting his feelings out. So there's all kinds of ways to do it, of course, but journaling the steps is going to help them be more solid in your life. So dive right in, because next week we're going to be talking about step 5, and that's also a very exciting step. If you like what we're doing here at Faith Forward Coaching, I would love it if you would like and subscribe. There's a link to a free document below. You can click on it, and it gives you a 3-step process to work through anything, situation that you might be dealing with a loved one who's struggling with addiction or alcoholism, or really any problem in your life. And you can schedule a 20-minute discovery call with me, and I can help you with that process. I'd love it if you would reach out to me in the comments, leave me your prayer request, tell me what you're thinking about. I will definitely pray for you, and I would just love to hear what's going on with you. So I will definitely be back in touch soon. Thanks for listening, and until then, guys, God bless. Bye.